The coverage calendar for the warehouse is set up for each warehouse. In the coverage calendar, you can set up open and close days for the warehouse. If the requested shipping date falls on a close day, then the next open date is used for the requested shipping date. If you do not set up a coverage calendar, the open and close days for the company are defined in the company information form on the shipping calendar. Let's switch over to AX and take a look. We'll start in the Organization Administration module by taking a look at the Calendars form. These are found underneath Common, Calendars, and then Calendars. You'll notice in my demonstration data that I have 3 different calendars created. One which is the 24-hour calendar, the payroll calendar, and a production calendar. If we expand this form, you can see that there are 2 buttons, a working times button and a copy calendar. The working times is where you define the open and close times for a particular calendar. You can see in this particular calendar that the production is closed on Saturdays and Sundays, and during the week the hours are from 7 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. with a break for half an hour at noon. To create these, you use the Compose Working Times button and a working time template. Next, I'll show you how to add a calendar to a warehouse. This is done in Inventory Management, underneath Setup, Inventory Breakdown, and then Warehouses. On the Master Planning tab for each warehouse, you can select the calendar to be used. If many warehouses have the same hours and same working days, you can link the same calendar to many different warehouses. I'll select a calendar for production on this warehouse for Site 11, warehouse number 11. Next, I'll show you how we can link a calendar to a mode of delivery. The modes of delivery are found in the Accounts Receivable module. Actually, they're in Sales and Marketing. Underneath Setup, and then Distribution, and then Modes of Delivery. Here, you can select any mode of delivery and then click the Transport Calendar button. This will open a new screen where you can set up one or more transport calendars for each warehouse. So I'll select the warehouse number 12 and then select the transport calendar to be used with that particular mode of delivery and that particular warehouse. This is useful, for example, if the warehouse is open 24 hours a day, but it's only shipping during a smaller set of hours throughout the day, you can link the transport calendar to the specific warehouse on that specific mode of delivery. Next, let's create a transport time and set the fallback warehouse. This is done in the Inventory and Warehouse Management module. Transport times are used to define the amount of time it takes to ship between a warehouse in your company and a customer address. You'll find these in the Setup folder underneath Distribution and then Transport. When you open this screen, you must select which view you want to look at. I'm currently looking at the warehouse view, and I can select the warehouse that I want to look at. So I'll filter for warehouse 13. On the right-hand side, I can select if I want the receiving point to be an address, which is useful for customers, or another warehouse. This is useful for transfer orders where I'm going to transfer something from one warehouse to another warehouse. We'll leave this as address. We could also select additional filters such as zip code, county, state or province, and the country or region. On the bottom half of the form, you create records to say how long it will take to ship something from warehouse 13 to another country, region, county, zip code, or receiving warehouse. This first row is used to say that it takes 3 days to transport from the state of Alabama from shipping warehouse 13. On the lower portion of the form, you can also add modes of delivery. So, for example, if it takes 3 days to transport normal in most modes of delivery, but a ground shipping method such as truck takes 4 days, you can select the mode of delivery called truck and override the transport days to be 4. If you add multiple modes of delivery, you can mark the default checkbox to say to use the default values that are specified in the upper portion of the form. Next, I'll show you how to set up the fallback warehouse. The fallback warehouse for site is found in the same distribution folder right underneath the transport form. This form is where you can specify a fallback warehouse for the site. This means that if only the site is specified on a sales order line, the necessary information for the transport form is pulled from this fallback warehouse for that specific site instead. Therefore, the transport form still calculates the transport time based on individual warehouse settings. So you can see here that Site 1 is configured to have Warehouse 13 as the fallback. So if I'm using Warehouse 11 and Warehouse 11 does not have a specific setting to the area I am shipping items to, it will search in Warehouse 13 for a setting as the fallback. Next, we'll take a look at the Supply Overview form in AX.